Tenacious D, Post-APOCALYPTO, their fourth technical full-length studio album. But this isn't just the album itself, it's also the pseudo movie as well, I'm just gonna say. And I've been a fan, I'm not gonna lie. I hate to say that and kind of sort of hate to say that this is the first album I've purchased involving Tenacious D. Even though it probably should have been, they're self-titled, with the classics like, which, I mean, it's good. I mean, if you haven't noticed, this is a viewer discretion device. So, for some of you, there's some title names I can't help but have to say. So, just so you know, viewer discretion advised, make sure your kiddos aren't around for this one. And yes, this is animated the exact same way, the film, that is sort of a kind of a short movie-ish, not really short film, but because it's an hour long, a little over an hour long, not really full feature length, like semi-feature length, I guess. We're going to talk about that in this album, but really, I feel like I should be talking more about the movie itself, and, I'm also putting away something else in the process of all this, and I have other things to talk about. I mean, this album came out October 8th, and eventually they released the full versions of the movie instead of in separate parts on their YouTube channel. Definitely go and check that out there. I probably will find a way to leave it in the description below of this video. Most definitely. And yeah. And yeah, it does get into some weird places. Even the video itself, and yeah. And the way it's done, it's kind of dated towards YouTube quality standards too. And not even, here's the thing, I like this, but to a degree. I'm more a fan of, like most people, what they did when they came and started, and pretty well what led to more so Jack Black's startup in career. Y'all know Jack Black, y'all know Kyle Gass. More so Jack Black than Kyle Gass. In fact, that's kind of a running gag in Tenacious D on certain topics, to where it's really more Jack Black's more the better, the one that's kind of puts down poor old KG, and you almost feel for him in those moments anyway, to a degree, I guess. I don't know. Don't know where this devil character here kind of comes into play, because he's definitely not at all in this. If anything, it's just kind of there to kind of remind us of tribute. Let's face it. For the most part, this is dealing with them stuck in somehow in this post-apocalyptic world, and they're just navigating through all the bull crap, and for the most part it's a bunch of stuff, just an excuse for all the songs that are on this thing. Forgive me. Alright. Sorry about that. Anyway, overall, I do enjoy the thing. I mean, like you've heard, the post-apocalyptic theme that starts this thing is nice, and you kind of still hear it at the end with the reprise. I mean, slightly different lyrics, but nothing much, different to talk about. There are some moments in there that's kind of narrative stuff that's mostly just kind of there to sort of lead into certain other tracks of the actual songs. But they kind of miss a few parts and segments here and there that are in the actual movie, and it's better you add those in with context, so you're better off just watching the dang movie instead of getting this, which is essentially like a soundtrack to it, in the same vein as Pick of Destiny. And yes, this is mostly comedy rock duo, I get it. Comedy is also subjective here. Rock Critic said this best when he was reviewing the recent Psycho Stick album. Go, I think it's called. I could be wrong. And some of these songs do come off. I mean, the earlier songs, Hope is Fine, about the two-headed doggy, that eventually becomes a three-headed doggy, little doggy, and it's trying to be sweet. And it's not the only song that comes off sort of on the Swedish side. Sweet. I don't know why I said, it sounded like I said Swedish when I'm trying to say sweet-esque. But anyway. The only thing on this, I think, this album that really kind of may throw some fans off a bit, diehards mostly, would be the JB Jr. rap. And that's a whole other thing involving the storyline. They have a story with the cave women, which leads to the track of Making Love. I mean, that Take Us Into Space is nice. Fuck You, Emma is kind of funny. I mean, it's the first half that's funny. I mean, when you get to the heavier part, which is technically the Daddy Ding Dong track, that has something to do with what happened in the second chapter, that's where tracks like Making Love came into play. It's all sorts of weird, you know? Save the World. I mean, that, Save the One More Time, Save the World was part of the ladder track, the ladder stuff leading into Home, I guess. And some things they clearly ripping off of other movies in places. Even there's the robot's that they're calling robot is essentially the Terminator character. Or at least the TR-1000, whatever model the Arnold Schwarzenegger one is. Because you have that Arnold Schwarzenegger terrible impersonation in this thing going on. And something about a Yo-Yo Ma. I don't know who the fuck does this. And who's this referencing? It's been a while. If it was a bigger reference, then I'm just not sure on. I mean, Colors is nice. It's not exactly funny, but it's kind of a good heartfelt thing, and so is Hope supposed to be, which is more about this two-headed dog. Even though eventually it becomes more like a three-headed dog, a Cerberus, essentially. Mutated Cerberus. I mean, it's all sorts of fun, and it's better you watch this stuff in the context. Some of it's funny, some of it's just ridiculous. I like this thing, but I can tell you, it's better not to just go on straight into this. You will not understand a whole lot of things, because there are some things missing out of this completely. But it is funny. I mean, Making Love to me is probably one of the better tracks on the record, and it's kind of pseudo, sort of a fuck her gently kind of a thing. Is really what it amounts to, though it's a little more vulgar and just far more descriptive, though it's been a while since I've heard Fuck Her Gently, even though that's not their biggest song. Everyone knows Tenacious D for Tribute, the greatest song in the world, which is essentially their pseudo take on The Devil Went Out of Georgia. I'll have some elements thrown in of maybe some of what they thought was the greatest songs in the world, which may have also included Metallica's One, and a certain, I guess, a Heart song, or a Led Zeppelin song, or something. I guess something of that nature. I guess. But overall, I think if you are a Tenacious D fan, I feel like this might satisfy you, if anything at all. But I don't think it will satisfy in the way, or hit you upside the head and make you kind of laugh and make you want to sing along to it in the same kind of way that you did with Pick a Destiny, or any of the stuff that they did off of their first album, even those that are on the show, which included Tribute, or the songs that weren't necessarily part of the show, that wound up just being part of that album, which would include Fuck Her Gently and, Wonder Boy. Hell, I had a band member, or singer, that was in the band that's, I guess, kind of not anymore, and hell, the band's not even, it's tough, so this is kind of more for them than anything at this point, and I enjoy them, and I would probably prefer to go back in nostalgic route through. I feel like if you had that nostalgia, so this kind of fits in that, and it's still kind of funny, and it works to a degree. But overall, I did enjoy it, but I feel like I enjoyed it more through the movie that they have from YouTube, which I will probably leave in the description below to check it, because they have a full-length version instead of the playlist, and I think it's better you just watch it as the full-length instead of as a playlist, and it helps doing it that way, and the animation isn't the best. It's super old school, 2D, I guess, and definitely of the standards of a bit definitely almost as juvenile as the way they do their music in its own right. But they do have moments where they do seem to show some sense of maturity, even though it does come off a little jarring in a way to some people if you're don't have the movie stuff going into context, even though that just makes colors, which is a nice heartfelt kind of song. Really, it's just, the Donald Trump character doing something to distract them and get the glow back, only for it to kind of backfire, which is what is shown after the Who's Your Daddy, around the Who's Your Daddy part, I think. I'm not entirely sure, really, unless it's part of in the song, the way they're setting this up. I think it's after that, the Daddy Ding Dong, is where things seem like it kind of goes downhill, at least sonically. The robot just comes off weird, and I think there was a better parody thing involving Arnold Schwarzenegger than this. And it's not, and you could tell it's Jack Black's trying to keep, I guess he's trying to do keep the Arnold impersonation while still doing his own vocals, and it just kind of does not work all that well. And anyone who likes Robot in that regard, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work as well as the earlier tracks. That really are the parts that make it work, and then it just kind of falls apart after that. But it works better in the context of the film, though. But outside of that, I mean, at this point, I don't know if I would recommend the album itself so much as I would rather recommend you to just watch the YouTube video. And if you have to wait to get this with a deluxe edition that has the full version of the DVD with it, that's a better way to do it. Watch the DVD, then listen to this, and you have a better context. Which I don't even know if you really needed that. And that's the thing that differs, I guess, here. I don't know if I would say for sure, but given the material that I did wind up hearing from the album that kind of that came out a few years back, like maybe around 2011, 2012, I think, that one did not go over so well. And it didn't translate as well, given that it had to follow up something like Pick a Destiny and the previous two. And yeah, it fell short. And this album is at least better, I guess, than that, but not enough to... And clearly this came out right around the time Jack Black starting to get back his momentum in the public eye. And he figured he'd do so by going back to his roots through Tenacious D. And... I mean, I don't know if that translates nearly as well. And given that these recent films he's been involved in haven't exactly been as good as, the last Goosebumps or what Jumanji was earlier from last year, or was the Goosebumps one the year before the Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle sequel-ish thing came out? But anyway, overall, I mean, it can be fun. It can be funny in places. The best thing I can do at the best, in terms of mostly just the film itself, at least I give it a thumbs up. But as the album itself is concerned, I kind of have to do this, guys. I mean, I know something tells me that Anthony Tano will just fucking ream this thing. For sure. Compared to me. I'm being more nicer about this, because I am somewhat of a fan of these guys and what they've done. And, no one has ever bothered to forget Tribute. Ever. And, I will never forget tracks like your Master Exploder Pod's fine, but I think it's really, your Wonder Boys, your Master Exploder, your Beelzebub Battle, I think is how it's called, which Dave Grohl is involved with. And Dave Grohl's also involved once again here. He's credited for drums again. And I think some of the same people that have been involved throughout this project has, stuck around too. And Jack Black still has it in him to, do this kind of stuff. It's just... And though I think for a lot more people, I feel like it translates far better. If there is one thing he's done with this kind of style of music, that's the one thing I will say. Also, the JB Jr. rap is so trend-hoppingly why. But it's so short that you're kind of like... And they do other things to kind of... It's the one thing that feels musically for Tenacious D out of place. But it's okay. I mean, I guess I might have heard worse in trap. In general, or mumble rap in general. I wouldn't even call this mumble rap. It's more old school, but has some trappy elements and EDM shit here and there that I'm like, just kind of comes out, kind of seems off-putting, but not nearly as off-putting as how Imagine Dragons or any of these other acts that I've been following up within Fall Out Boy or 30 Seconds to Mars. Why? Just, ugh. But anyway, overall, I enjoy this. Yeah. What did you guys think of the Post-Apocalypto? And just Tenacious in general, if you still like them for what they are and their brand of comedy, and, you know, Jack Black's brand of comedy, his clearly awesome vocal chops for what he has, you know, their acoustic rock style, comedy rock style duo with a very Americana folk rock metal style and whatnot. I just, you know, overall, just leave a comment below and let me know. And as always, guys, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully, I'll eventually, at some point, get to the new Architects, Holy Hell album, and eventually, and I'm definitely going to try to talk about it. Hell, I might do that and Vector around the same time from Haken, or Haken, or I think it's Haken. There's some issues with how to pronounce that one. But anyway, and that's about it, guys. Check those out when they finally come out, and this is about it. Overall, there you go. Take care, y'all.